Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Disney Plus, most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night. Tonight, the breaking news here: U.S. embassies and consulates under attack. Americans stranded tonight. The attack on Iran and the retaliation now widening. U.S. embassies and consulates targeted. A drone coming down near the U.S. consulate in Dubai, exploding into flames. 2 drones hitting the U.S. embassy in Saudi Arabia. Tonight, the Americans stranded. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying they're preparing charter flights, military flights, land routes to get to other countries to try to get Americans out. The president is asked today, was there not a plan to get Americans out? And after that Iranian strike on a U.S. tactical operations center in Kuwait, ABC News Tonight learning U.S. service members did not have adequate defenses. 6 U.S. service members dead. And after 3 American F-15 fighter jets were shot down over Kuwait by friendly fire, one of them seen spiraling to the ground. Remarkable video tonight circulating online showing the tense moments as locals confront one of the downed American pilots. One man approaching with a pipe. The pilot's parachute still attached. Ian Panel standing by live in the region. Tonight, at least 11 countries now involved in this conflict, all trying to intercept incoming strikes from Iran. Will the U.S. interceptors they're using last? James Longman in Iraq tonight. At the White House, President Trump is asked to clarify his administration's evolving explanations as to why the U.S. attacked Iran and now. The president appearing to contradict what Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested just 24 hours ago. Tonight, the stock market plunging, oil and gas prices rising, with Iran essentially shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, where so much of the world's oil passes through. Also tonight here, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem grilled on Capitol Hill after the deadly scenes in Minneapolis, the fireworks today on the Hill. The guilty verdict tonight in the trial of a father whose son is accused in a deadly mass shooting at school. The jury deciding he was criminally responsible after getting his son an AR-15 style rifle, despite warnings from authorities. The stunning moment tonight, the shooting, a deputy whose life saved by his own body camera, blocking a bullet to the heart. The plane crashing into the Hudson River right outside New York City.
We're going into the Hudson River. I don't think we're going to make the airport.
How they survived this. And the dramatic video tonight of a boat jumping across a highway median. Authorities on how this happened. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight. U.S. consulate.
People of Iran, the mixed messaging about why the U.S. president launched the attacks.
We were having negotiations. Attack first.
Taking some European allies for their lack of support.
UK has been very, very uncooperative.
Plus, how the war could affect your wallet beyond oil gas prices.
We're kind of entering an opera.
These to every investor.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The Trump administration says the war the U.S. and Israel launched against Iran is going to intensify. And though the U.S. claims to have killed much of Iran's leadership, the country continues to fight back, hitting its neighbors in the Persian Gulf with missiles and drones, including the U.S. consulate in Dubai. In Iran, hundreds of sites have been hit. Iran's Red Crescent says 787 people have been killed, including senior leaders who were meeting today to choose Iran's next supreme leader. The White House now says regime change is not an explicit aim of this war, though it is killing any potential successors.
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group, they may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
President Trump is also rejecting suggestions made by his Secretary of State yesterday that Israel forced his hand to attack Iran.
The president had already made a decision to act on the timing. The president acted on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success.
Though on the second day of this war, Israel's prime minister made it clear that the U.S. is helping him fulfill a long-held dream. This combination of forces enables us to do what I have long hoped to do for 40 years, Benjamin Netanyahu said, to strike the terror regime decisively. Our coverage of this expanding war begins with Jeff Semple, who is in Istanbul tonight, and a warning some of the images are disturbing.
The war in the Middle East is escalating and expanding by the hour. This, the latest front line in Lebanon, after Hezbollah launched rockets into Israel on Monday. The Israelis hit back, targeting the Lebanese militant group's command centers in Beirut. Israel also ordered its ground troops into Lebanon to take up what it called a defensive posture. Their fragile ceasefire from 2024 now up in smoke. Meanwhile, parts of Tehran are starting to look reminiscent of Gaza City, pounded into rubble by relentless Israeli and American airstrikes.
They have no Navy, it's been knocked out. They have no Air Force, it's been knocked out. Just about everything's been knocked out.
But despite the president's claims of disarming Tehran, the regime is escalating its own offensive, striking not only Israel, but 9 other countries across the region, targeting their American bases, embassies, as well as oil refineries and energy infrastructure. Saudi Arabia threatened to hit back, while Oman pleaded for Trump to de-escalate.
They're widening this way beyond Israel now, and they're punishing firmly and driving wedges between the U.S. allies in the region.
This international security expert says
This is Sky News, the headlines. President Trump unleashes a stinging personal attack on the Prime Minister, accusing him of being uncooperative over the Iran conflict.
So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
The president's rebuke came despite RAF jets shooting down Iranian drones over Jordan and a UK decision to deploy a warship to Cyprus. And while the politicians argue US and Israeli strikes on Iran continue, America says it has now hit nearly 2,000 targets. Tehran continues to retaliate, attacking American allies and US bases in the Gulf, as well as targets in Israel. The continuing war rattles the markets, sending shares plunging and energy prices spiking as the Chancellor warns of uncertainty for the economy. Good morning. Donald Trump has vented his frustration with the UK for what he sees as a lack of support, saying of Sir Keir Starmer, "This is not Winston Churchill we are dealing with." As America and Israel's war with Iran continues, Sky's Cordelia Lynch reports on the key developments.
The skies over Iran black with smoke, its ballistic missile infrastructure and arsenal steadily blowing up. In Miravan, an intelligence site obliterated. And here, the wreckage of a building where Iran's assembly of experts were meeting to decide the next supreme leader. Far away in Washington, Donald Trump called the war he helped start stupid, but justified.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that.
Something else he feels very strongly about is Keir Starmer delivering this scathing broadside.
We are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
RAF F-35 jets did shoot down an Iranian drone in Jordan, but for America's leader, it's far too little, too late. This war has rapidly opened a Pandora's box. Iran now targeting 11 countries, drawing out the conflict, expanding the battle, driving up the jeopardy.
This period will pass, and Iran will come out of this historic test victorious. Don't have any doubts. Our civilization, our history, and the God of our homeland will make us victorious. We will defeat the evil.
This is Fujairah Oil Refinery in Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest oil storage sites in the Middle East. Oman was also hit, a drone smashing into Duqm commercial port. This is the broadest war the region has ever seen. But another big shift to watch is on the ground in southern Lebanon. Israel seizing territory. The IDF say it's just a
DCI View.
Today, Israel and Iran trade more airstrikes as the US president attempts to shore up global oil supplies. Also ahead, relief for some Australians stranded in Dubai, with the first flight to Sydney finally taking off. An 8-year-old Australian girl killed in a snowmobile accident on Japan's ski fields. And the Australian economy growing faster than expected, fueling inflation fears. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Rose Childs. The war in the Middle East is continuing to intensify, with Israel and Iran trading more airstrikes on day 4 of the conflict. The Israeli military says its latest strikes are targeting Iranian defense systems near Tehran. It's also striking what it says is Hezbollah infrastructure in parts of Lebanon. The IDF has also reported Iranian strikes near Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says the US Navy is prepared to escort oil and gas tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if required. Rocket attacks by Iran have effectively shut down all shipping in the narrow strip, through which about a fifth of global oil and gas is transported, with commercial insurers unwilling to bear the risk of transit. Mr. Trump has also defended his decision to carry out strikes on Iran, dismissing suggestions that Israel forced his hand.
Based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first, and I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But
This is Asia First.
Good morning, I'm Arnold Gay. It's 9 o'clock here in Singapore, and here are the headlines. President Trump says the U.S. Navy will accompany ships through the Strait of Hormuz if necessary, and also offer insurance to ships in the Gulf after Iran largely succeeds in shutting down the vital trade artery which Asia heavily relies on.
Oil prices ease after that reassurance tempers concerns over global supply disruptions. Sarah Polly. The White House is seen as attempting damage control to limit the spikes that were starting to boost U.S. gasoline prices. And that's deemed a political risk for Republicans ahead of the midterm elections. I'm Elizabeth New. A suspected Iranian drone strike hits near the U.S. consulate in Dubai. All personnel are accounted for and no injuries have been reported as Iran's attacks on the Gulf continues, while it is also pounded by Israeli and U.S. strikes. U.S. embassies in Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, and Kuwait close indefinitely, while the Trump administration also threatens a full trade embargo on Spain after it refused to let the U.S. military use its bases for missions linked to strikes on Iran. Plus, hundreds of thousands of passengers remain stranded as one of the busiest air corridors in the world is shuttered. Governments and airlines are scrambling to repatriate people stuck in the Middle East.
And China opens its biggest yearly political meetings, known as the Two Sessions today. Thousands of delegates gathering in Beijing to shape the nation's economic strategy through 2030. President Trump says the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz if necessary, after Iran's Revolutionary Guard threatened to set alight any vessel passing through it.
Yeah, President Trump also offering political risk insurance and financial guarantees for maritime trade traveling in the Gulf. He wrote in a Truth Social post, "No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world."
Analysts say higher energy prices and resulting inflation is a key risk for
Africa News. The news.
Senegal's political alliance at the top is showing signs of strain. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko says he's prepared to pull his PASTEF party out of government and return to the opposition if President Bassirou Diomaye Faye drifts from the party's vision. Speaking in a live broadcast, Sonko warned that if the president is not aligned, Senegal could face what he called a soft power sharing arrangement and even a more difficult cohabitation. The remarks come amid mounting pressure in Senegal, where university unrest and tense negotiations with the International Monetary Fund have heightened uncertainty. The IMF froze a $1.8 billion program in 2024 after the government revealed more than $11 billion in previously misreported debt. Sonko, once barred from running for president, backed Faye as his replacement in 2024. After winning, Faye appointed Sonko prime minister, but cracks have since emerged, including public disagreements over coalition leadership and debt restructuring talks, disagreements that rattled Senegal's international bonds. A French court has ruled partially favorable for the extradition of Mandiambal Diang, a Senegalese media owner and government critic. Senegal issued an international arrest warrant in September over alleged financial misconduct, prompting Diang to leave for France. He says he's calm but determined to fight the extradition.
For the
time being, the French state is not yet in question. It is the French judiciary that has ruled, that has issued a decision which may be subject to certain avenues of appeal. We will make an assessment once all legal proceedings have been exhausted, and at that point it will be clear that in any case, the decision of the French state will itself be open to appeal. We are in a state governed by the rule of law, and as I said, it is because I have confidence in the French judiciary and France's rule of law that I came to France. Senegalese authorities accuse Mandiambal Diang of financial crimes, including fraud and money laundering, tied to state contracts, but his lawyer insists the judges were influenced. It's actually hard to believe the decision handed down today, the opinion delivered today, is completely unaffected by the pressure brought to bear by the Senegalese authorities, because I would remind you that there
This is DW News. These are our top stories. Israel has launched new airstrikes on Iran's senior leadership and on a suspected nuclear site. The Israeli military claims the site was used by Tehran, quote, to develop a key component for nuclear weapons. The army also announced that its strikes on Tehran had killed Daoud Alizadeh, a senior commander of Iran's elite Quds force. An Iranian drone attack caused a fire nearby the U.S. consulate in Dubai. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed the strike and said all staff were safe. Iran has intensified its attacks on American diplomat buildings across the Gulf as part of the growing Middle East war. The U.S. embassies in Riyadh and Kuwait were also targeted earlier this week. France has ordered the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle to redeploy from the Baltic Sea to the Mediterranean. The UK government says it plans to send its air defense destroyer HMS Dragon to the region. The announcement came after Iranian drones attacked a British Air Force base in Cyprus. This is DW News from Berlin.
and welcome to Night Watch on France 24. I'm Charlotte Hughes, and here are our main headlines. The death toll from US and Israeli strikes on Iran continues to climb. Tehran, meanwhile, expands its retaliatory missile and drone barrage across the Middle East. As explosions ring out in Jerusalem, a drone slams into a car park in Dubai, and a US airbase is hit in Qatar. As Lebanon is pulled deeper into the conflict, Syria is sending thousands of troops to reinforce its border with the country, and Israel has warned residents of more than 80 villages to evacuate. Iran-backed Hezbollah says it's ready for, I quote, an open war. And the French president is sending an aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean in response to the widening conflict. Emmanuel Macron says he's also dispatching defense systems to Cyprus a day after Iranian-made drones hit a British airbase on the island.
Jump now to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He's speaking after that gang debate briefing.
USA here tonight, who said very well, very clearly, fell just short of citing the specific case law, but explained that this has been the tradition for decades. The president is well within his constitutional authority to do what he has done, and it is entirely consistent with the history of former presidents for at least 4 decades. There's no question about this. The Democrats never had any question about it when Democrat presidents were using this authority. When you look at the analysis of the War Powers Act and the law that applies and the powers that are given to the Commander-in-Chief under Article 2 of the Constitution, President Trump has done exactly what he should do. He is squarely within the law. He used his discretion, his authority, and the intelligence that he had, exquisite as it was, as it's demonstrated by its effectiveness. And he did what he should have done as a commander-in-chief. The idea that a few colleagues here would try to move a war powers motion and resolution to the floor right now is dangerous. Imagine a scenario where Congress would vote to tell the commander-in-chief that he was no longer allowed to complete this mission. That would be a very dangerous thing. You see that Iran is firing almost seemingly indiscriminately at targets. They're trying to intimidate America. They're trying to test our resolve. And the idea that there's some members of this legislative body that would play along with that plays right into the hands of the enemy. And I think it's shameful. I do believe we have the votes to defeat it. I certainly hope we do, because we have lots of troops, service members in harm's way right now, and the balance of this thing is hanging there. It's been very effective thus far. It needs to be completed. We don't need Congress getting in the way of that. Yes, ma'am.
Based on what you heard. Thank you so much. Is there any indication of plans? Representative Scalise said he heard one. Democrats say they're not hearing one. What happens when the war ends? What does that look like? And then what does the day after look like?
Look, no one can yet determine with any degree of certainty how this will turn out. We have taken out what appears to be top few layers of leaders and potential leaders who would take over there. It is time for the people of Iran to step up and seize this moment of opportunity for them, the one that they have long awaited, to have freedom there. We're encouraging that. We're hopeful for that. I think our NATO allies and our other allies around the world are watching with great anticipation and hope. I suspect that the entire world will reach out a hand of encouragement and assistance as is needed to help them. We have no ability to get into the nation building business. We don't do that. We're not the world's policemen. America has enough trouble of our own. But I think this is a great development for the people there to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and seize this moment of opportunity. We're certainly hopeful and prayerful that they will, and that no other innocent people are killed. Iran, by some estimates, murdered tens of thousands of their own citizens just within the last several weeks. Those people are now deceased. They do not have the ability to do that. There's still dangerous folks there, but there's more good people. There's more people who desire to have freedom and liberty, and there are terrorists and tyrants in the world. I'm grateful for that. This is their moment to step up, and I hope they will.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full show.
Arbitrator, savior, juror, solicitor, cause being